the chair of this meeting. Is there a specific order that we're going in that I've just not been able to find? Because it seems like we're kind of bouncing around. I'm just a bit curious what we're doing.
If you go on the docket on Airtable for Red Senate, there's like a whole list. Um, and Senate Bill 501 is in there.
Yeah, I see that, but I just thought that Senate Bill 501 is at the bottom of the list.
Yeah, I
Oh,
was under the impression that Senate Bill 101 would be next.
um,
No, I don't care. We can discuss this bill. Like, that's
yeah,
not my concern.
101 after. That's fine. Okay, the floor is now open for discussion. Delegate Body.
Jalen Body, Channel Park delegation. I have to disagree with this bill. I don't feel like schools would be capable of finding teachers that could teach these language courses.
Thank you, Delegate Rhodes.
Stanley Rhodes, Ann Arbor YMCA delegation. I agree with the previous speaker. Obviously, I understand like the importance that world language has, to make us, competitive abroad, make sure that people can have business acumen in other countries. However, to do this from fifth all the way to senior graduation, I think is a little excessive. You know, Obviously we have a requirement to have 2 years of world language experience in order to graduate from high school. Maybe that's a little small, but I do feel like that at least is necessary. And I think making sure that, forcing people to do at now 8 years of world language, I think seems like a lot.
Thank you. Delegate Viavazo.
Thank you, Chair. Pablo Villavazo from the Union Delegation. I would agree with a previous speaker. I would describe this bill as excessive. 3 hours a week. I mean, I don't know if I can find 3 hours a week. So I would just encourage the Senate to vote nay on the bill and to end discussion. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Delegate Belay.
Thomas Belly, Notre Dame Prep delegation. One thing that concerns me about this bill is by micromanaging student schedules, especially in the case where students may be taking a rigorous AP program or the less common IB program, and they don't have these slots open to be filled with foreign language, and they're trying to focus on their future rather than learning foreign language. While foreign language does help the brain develop, this just doesn't see, first doesn't seem like the government's place, and second of all, just seems like it's micromanaging student schedules too much.
Thank you. Delegate Mushong.
Allie Mushong, Mason delegation. I'd like to remind everyone that in U.S. schools, language isn't emphasized as much as it is elsewhere. In many other parts of the world, lots of, high schoolers or even kids just from early on are raised with learning multiple languages. It seems to be sort of a super American thing that we kind of shy away from learning other languages because we think of it as a chore. In reality, it's necessary in many other parts of the world, and this is going to help people expand their horizons from just English speaking.
Thank you. Delegate Cade.
Sierra K. Castec delegation. I agree with the previous speakers that stated that this bill is a little bit excessive. I know many of us, judging on just based on our professionalism, that we all have busy schedules. And it doesn't even state how it's going to kind of like coincide with that 2-year requirement that we even have in place. And while the previous delegate did say that it is normal for the rest of the world to kind of like learn English and accommodate English into their daily lives, be like nationalist, but I think we all understand why that is. Not saying that America is like the group hub of everything, but like we don't really demonstrate the need to learn another language that's like a recreational aspect, as other countries do depend on English for most of their like economic stability and things like that. Like I said, trying to be nationalist or saying that America is like, oh, the true winner of the breadwinner and things like that. But I believe that this is just an excessive thing. We have plenty of other things to focus on. And like I said, this bill doesn't even accommodate the fact that we already have a 2-year language course and how it's going to change from that. And I just, like I said, overall, just think that this bill is just really excessive.
Thank you. Delegate Earl?
Ian Roster's delegation. In response to a previous speaker, while it is true that a lot of other countries do require rigorous foreign language study, if you really look at where that is, it's pretty much centralized entirely in the EU. And the reason for that is because they are a collection of countries that are all extremely close to each other, where you can literally just take a train from Great Britain to France or Great Britain to Germany, and you need to be able to know the language so that way you can speak with the people that are pretty much in the same union as you. When you go outside of the EU, you don't see as much rigorous language study as much because it's simply not as necessary for day-to-day life.
Thank you. Delegate Wong?
Julia Wong, Primary Delegation. I agree with the previous speakers in saying that as much as I support the idea behind this bill to create a more, culturally, I guess, like informed student body who's like more aware of like other people's cultures and different things like that. I just don't really think this is I don't think this is a practical bill. As another speaker previously mentioned, a lot of students have really rigorous courses, and I just can't see how adding another language course onto a lot of courses is going to make things any better. Speaking specifically about myself, I'm already bilingual. I don't need to take. I think it would be nice to, but right now, my current schedule, taking another language would be of no benefit to my intended path for the future. It would simply just make my life harder.
Delegate Belay?
Thomas Belli, Notre Dame Prep Delegation. Without objection to any of the senators here, seeing as the majority of us are in negation of this bill, I move that we move to previous question.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Okay.
Point of order, you're allowed to do that now?
No, but I just let that happen. So, because we've been talking about it for so long and everyone.
I would have done that on the last bill.
Okay, perfect. Anyways, all in favor of passing Senate Bill 501, please signify by pressing yes. If opposed, press no. In the opinion of the chair, the nays have it. This bill has failed. We will now move to open Senate Bill 101.
Information. I thought the time is over.
It ends at 2:30 today.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Will the clerk please read the title of the bill? Senate Bill 101.
Thank you, Chair. A bill to expand the accessibility of contraceptive devices for Michigan citizens.
Will the clerk please read the rest of the bill?
There are currently no amendments to the bill. Section 1 states, this bill aims to assist individuals in need of contraceptive devices by removing any and all cost barriers for all forms of temporary reversible birth control methods. Contraceptive devices, as stated in the bill, refer to IUDs, birth control in the form of hormonal pills, contraceptive implants, contraceptive injections, contraceptive patches, and other forms of temporary reversible contraceptive devices. Section 3, free temporary contraceptive devices will be made available for distribution to family planning clinics in Michigan, allowing their clients to access these devices at their request. Section 4, this bill will provide minors aged 14 to 17 with free access to contraceptive devices without parental permission. Section 5, this bill will be administered by the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. Section 6, there will be no repercussion for Michigan family planning clinics that do not wish to distribute free contraceptive devices. Section 7, this act will be funded through Michigan's Rainy Day Fund. Section 8, this bill will go into effect 1 year after passage.
Thank you. I now present the author for an opening statement.
Julia Wong, Cranbrook delegation. So I initially got this idea when I found about this Colorado, where the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment, when they started this family planning initiative, that was an initiative funded by a private donor to basically give minors free access to long-acting reversible contraceptive devices such as IUDs and hormonal implants. And this was a massively successful program, as during the 8 years it was implemented, Colorado saw teenage birth rates as well as teenage abortion rates fall nearly in half, which saved $70 million in the process compared to what I believe was the initial $25 million investment. So they actually saved money through this initiative. And in general, obviously, abortion is a very, very controversial issue. However, I think both sides, whether you are in support of it or against it, can both agree that we would like to lessen the amount of abortions that would happen. And this bill is sort of, I guess, my bipartisan approach to sort of address that issue, as this bill, as providing individuals with contraceptive devices would prevent unplanned pregnancies and things like that. Not to mention the fact that unplanned pregnancies, they do cost the state a lot, as there's a lot of costs that are associated with labor, delivery, food stamps, childcare assistance, etc. Things like that. So personally, I believe that this bill aims to address maybe both sides the argument that would agree that the amount of abortions in the world should be lessened, and also it would just overall just give more women the agency to decide when to start a family and things like that. And it will also help lower income individuals, as those without health insurance sometimes have to pay over $1,500 for an IUD or birth control, long-acting reversible forms of birth control, which is just not a price that some people can pay. So I think this is a really good bill, and I think it'd be really helpful, and I urge you guys to pass it. Thank you.
Thank you. Delegate Body.
Jalen Body, Buchanan Park delegation. I agree with the intent of the bill. However, there are a few reasons why I can disagree, but I am concerned about Section 4 because it says minors age 14 to 17 with free access to contraceptive devices without parental permission. I don't really agree that minors should be getting birth control without parental consent, because parents are legally responsible for their children and they have the right to enforce like medical decisions until the child turns 18.
Thank you. Delegate Mushong.
Allie Mushong, Mason delegation. So in response to the previous speaker, I agree that we should probably, if someone would be able to make an amendment to talk about, because we, well, first of all, we don't really have a clear line, I don't believe, between, or Section 4 when it talks about minors. In general, the bill appears to be just talking in general about like everyone receives free access. So I think either we should change that or something. But in response to the previous speaker, so sorry, the legal the legal thing with parents and kids when it comes to well, specifically sexuality in this case, I think it's confidential actually. For example, you can go to a family planning clinic and you can get an abortion in, I think in the state of Michigan, specifically, you can get an abortion without your parents' consent, because your information is confidential, as long as, and I believe that's for minors. So if anyone has something to refute that, go ahead, but I think it's confidential.
Thank you. Delegate Cade.
Sierra K. Castech delegation, I am in full support. However, I like the clear distinction when it talks about minors in Section 4. But other than that, I fully support this bill. I believe that that having free access for minors is a really good thing. A previous speaker stated that parents are medically responsible for children, and for children to, or for teens to go and like get like contraceptives without permission is kind of like off-putting and stuff like that. I like to state that I'd much rather have a parent medically responsible for a teen that's on birth control than to have a parent medically responsible for a teen that's pregnant. And like I said, other states do allow teenagers to get abortions without parental consent. And I believe that if other states do allow that, then we can definitely allow this to where it even prevents that from happening in the first place. To stop it at step 1 is to end it at like step 5. And I believe that this bill addresses that problem correctly.
Thank you. Delegate Belay?
Thomas Belay, Notre Dame Prep Delegation. I stand in absolute opposition to this bill for many reasons. First of all, while we do see that contraceptives can reduce chances of pregnancy or STDs from individual sexual acts, widespread use of contraceptives increases the overall likelihood of risky sexual behavior, which is why over the past 4 decades, even as contraceptives become more and more widely available, we see even more sexually transmitted disease and illegitimate births. A second point is that a lot of contraceptives are faulty and can cause unwanted pregnancies that can be even more disastrous. Of the nearly 12 million women on the birth control pill, 8 to 9% become pregnant each year. That means nearly 1 million pregnancies occur annually from pill failure alone. Another study conducted by Stanford University shows that the human body can't completely break down contraceptive hormones, such as synthetic estrogen, and these enter our water supply, decimating aquatic or ecosystems. A study from Healthline shows that contraceptives are known to increase the likelihood of breast cancer and other chronic diseases. Another thing that really throws me off about this bill is its funding plan through the Rainy Day Fund. This is a fund that is used to help Michigan if it is ever in if it's ever in an economic recession. And I think manipulating those funds for contraceptives is not a good use of that money that we've stored up. And I'm also concerned about the no parental permission in Section 4. I mean, you need parental permission to get a mole removed. So I think you should also need parental permission to take contraceptives. Thank you.
Thank you. Delegate Earl?
Ian Earl, Sturgis Delegation. I move to amend Section 4 to say this bill will provide minors aged 17 and up with free access to minors aged 14 to 16 with here we go. I got it. This bill will provide minors aged 16 and below with free access to contraceptive devices and aged 17 and up without parental permission.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, this amendment is now open for discussion. Ian, please type that in the chat for the clerk. Thank you.
Gotcha.
Delegate Rhodes?
Sorry. I was going to do one from the regular bill, but that's pretty much, sorry.
Delegate Wong?
Julia Wong, Cranbrook Delegation. Point of information, can I respond to a previous speaker and not just about this amendment?
Not right now.
Okay.
After the debate on the amendment, yes.
Can I talk about the amendment?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so Ian, I really, I do understand why you made that amendment, and I definitely understand why people might be opposed to the idea of providing free contraceptive devices without permission to people as young as 14, and I completely agree that is something that I mean, obviously we would prefer individuals to abstain from such activities before they, reach a place where they are comfortable in their lives to support a child. I understand why some people might see this bill as encouraging risky sexual behavior, and I agree that's not what this intended to do. I'm really putting emphasis on the fact that I simply just want to provide resources to individuals who are sexually active. I don't want to encourage it. I just want to provide resources for people who are. And unfortunately, it is true that individuals as young as the ages I've stated are sexually active. So I understand why you said that. And, I mean, I'm not completely opposed to this amendment passing, as I'd rather this help some people than no people at all. But I just wanted to put that out there. Thank you.
Thank you. Delegate Cade?
Kay, CASTEC Delegation. I fully support this amendment. I'm glad that we finally have a clarification on the age on this section, and I believe that this can allow us to move further with the bill.
Thank you. Delegate Body?
Jalen Body, Channel Park delegation, I have to disagree with this amendment. And the reason being is because the age of consent is 16. Oh, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Okay, now we can hear you. Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Jalen Body, Channel Park delegation, I have to disagree with this bill. The age of consent is 16. So in theory, we shouldn't really be giving free access to birth control to individuals under the age of 16 because then that could possibly encourage them to have sex, and we can't do that because the age of consent is 16. Thank you.
Thank you. Delegate Mushong?
Ally Mushong, Mason delegation. Okay, I'd urge you to vote against this amendment. So first of all, I think a better thing to do would to be to remove the talking about age in general, because it's going to be, first of all, it's going to be really hard to determine ages with walk-in clinics. I mean, you can't like ID a 14-year-old or a 16-year-old for that matter. So it's going to be really hard to find the ages or to determine the ages of people walking in. And I'd also urge all of you to reconsider to try to step away from your personal biases here, because what we're talking about, it doesn't have anything to do with it's just I mean, we obviously have a really weird perception of sexual activity here and just in general. So I mean, I just urge you to think about, this is just about providing resources to people who we know. I mean, we all know that this is I mean, that people are sexually active. We all know it. You can't deny that. So it's just it's just to provide this oh, and I'm sorry, connecting that back to the amendment, that's I think we should just need to remove the age on it, because we're probably not going to have 8-year-olds walking in to get contraceptives, but at the same time, we'll have, teenagers probably walking in, and we won't be able to figure out their age. So it's probably not going to make a difference.
Thank you. Delegate Earl?
Ian Roster's delegation, this is kind of going to be wrapped up in an open statement, but in response to numerous previous speakers. So this amendment has nothing to do with like personal bias or like any sort of like prudishness. We all know that like kids younger than 16 do have sex in the state of Michigan. There's this 11-year-old in the middle school that is pregnant at Sturgis. And there's a lot of, so we know that exists. The reason for this amendment is that the state of Michigan is not hammered with lawsuits. So we know that younger children do need contraceptives, but if we can connect that to parental, can you guys hear me? All right. As my internet connection is unstable. Can you guys hear me all right?
Yeah, now we can.
Okay. So by connecting that to parental permission, okay, good. By connecting that to parental permission, we are kind of shirking the blame away from the state, because the parents need to come in and sign for these kids, which is another reason why the age, like younger than, yeah, we can't ID a 15-year-old, but it doesn't matter because they need their parents there. And for 17 and up, since that is within the state of Michigan's age of consent, then they can come in on their own and the state won't be hammered with as many lawsuits. I still feel like this service needs to be applicable to all children, just for like education or for actual use, whatever. But I feel like it's extremely important to have parental permission there, because otherwise the state is just going to get hammered with lawsuits. This isn't about ignoring that children have sex. It's saying that preset age of consent in Michigan is 16. There's nothing we can do about that. So without, completely amending a law that was made a while ago, we can't go forward and have the state kind of endorse 14-year-olds coming in without parental permission and getting contraceptives. Not because it's important for them to get that, but because the state will be destroyed. Absolutely wrecked with lawsuits, absolutely wrecked with, it could even go to the Supreme Court. And I just want to avoid that as much as possible.
Thank you. Delegate Cade?
Sierra K. Castec delegation. I completely understand what the previous delegate is saying, and I trust me, I fully support what he's saying. Knowing that the age of consent in Michigan is 16 and up, we could literally get hammered if we like try to remove the age on there. And like removing the age enough there is kind of like controversial. Even at that, like I totally understand that, like, you know, people of all ages engage in this, but not all ages. People of like teenage ages kind of like engage in this and stuff like that. But like to remove the age, that will cause a lot of like, I feel like loopholes within this bill, considering that there are other bills that that like coincide with this. And I believe that just saying like the age of consent and up can go ahead and just receive these is more than enough.
Thank you. Delegate Wong?
Julia Wong, Cranbrook delegation. I was going to say this later when we're talking about the bill as a whole, but I think I can bring it up because it's relevant to this amendment. Colorado's age of consent is 17. That means, you know, obviously, we all know what that means. But this initiative that was started in Colorado in 2008, I believe a huge part of the reason that this bill was so effective was because of the fact that this bill also, this bill currently was modeled after this initiative. Colorado provided free long-acting reversible contraceptive devices to minors without parental consent. Colorado managed to do this, even though that's Colorado's age of consent is currently 17 years old. So I would hopefully that would maybe alleviate any of the previous speakers' concerns in terms of that. And in regards, also, I want to bring up a previous speaker story in which he talked about 11-year-old being pregnant in the middle school. I think that is a good point. I doubt the 11, I don't know, maybe this is a point of information, but I doubt that the 11-year-old's parents would have consented to them having sex in the first place. And perhaps if this bill did exist and gave them the resources, gave the 11-year-old the resources, and gave them access to perhaps a contraceptive device that they did not have access to, they wouldn't even be pregnant. So when it comes down to it, I'd rather people under the age of consent have sex as they do and not be pregnant, as opposed to people under the age of consent having sex and then getting pregnant. So that is my perspective from where I'm coming. And for that reason, I don't support this amendment because I think it sort of undermines the original, the purpose of this bill as it was modeled after the Colorado Family Planning Initiative, which also gave free long-acting reversible contraceptive devices to minors without their parental consent. So yeah, that's my statement.
Thank you. Delegate Mushong?
Allie Mushong, Mason delegation. Point of information, how are we going to tell the difference between or how are family planning clinics going to determine whether a person is under or over the age of consent? And how is that going to work? Because a 16-year or 15-year-old could walk in and you can't ask them. I mean, you cannot, like in a family planning, they're not going to ask you for like identification or anything. And at the same time with a parent, I mean, they might not have a parent with them. They probably won't have a parent with them. So how are you going to tell the difference?
Will the author of this amendment please answer this question?
I don't know. I'm trying to raise my hand.
Ian, you're lagging.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm lagging?
Now we can hear you, yeah.
Okay. Is it better now? Okay. So, I mean, I don't know. I assume that if they are under, okay, so if they are under the legal age of, wait, is this bill like going through family planning centers? Or is this a new like state setup thing?
Family planning centers,
Because my understanding was that it wasn't gonna go through. I'm sorry, what? Say again.
Oh, this I intend for the contraceptive devices to be distributed through family planning clinics that choose to offer it.
Oh, is it illegal for family planning centers to ask for identification?
Point of information, I do not know. Does anyone know?
Point of order. The delegate was answering a question, not asking one.
Sorry.
Well, I don't know how to answer the question without like this information. So I guess I just say I don't know, and then I'll ask the point of information later.
Okay. Delegate Earl, is your hand up again? Oh, wait. Never
Yeah, in delegation point of information, is it illegal for family planning centers to ask for identification?
Is there a delegate that can answer this question? Someone that can look it up and answer?
Allie, oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Okay, Allie Mushog, Mason delegation. Okay, I'm gonna use Planned Parenthood as an example. I'm by no means endorsing them, but they're the one of the most common family planning centers. But for Planned Parenthood, they don't ask for age, and you don't have to be accompanied by an adult. It's most likely that a family planning center would ask for age to determine something like health risks for like say an STD or something like that. They're not likely, I mean, to ask for an age, and of course you can't. No one can ask you for your age unless it's like an illegal, system. You can't be asked your age, and be legally binded to tell your age. Yeah, and you can't really look into that, so there's really no way to figure it out.
Yes, there is.
Point of order, please don't speak over another delegate.
Oh, fine. Was my mic on?
I'm sorry. Okay, we're gonna vote on this amendment. All in favor of passing this amendment to section 4, please signify by pressing yes. If not, press no. In the opinion of the chair, the nays have it. This amendment has failed. We are now discussing the bill as a whole, and keep in mind we have 6 minutes, so please keep the discussion very critical and important. Delegate Body.
Jalen Body, Channel Park delegation. I feel that with all of these contraceptive devices being free to it's going to cost a lot of money for the government, and I just don't think the Michigan Rainy Day Fund can afford all of this. And so I believe that people who can afford this stuff should pay for them, and the people who can't shouldn't. But considering that there's not enough time, I think we should just fail this bill as a whole.
Thank you so much. Delegate Rhodes.
Stanley Rhodes, Ann Arbor YMCA delegation. This bill is, it should not be based on our personal opinions of these issues. We can all agree, whatever side we're on, we can all agree that this is a very personal issue. And by being a personal issue, we need to make sure we have choice and access when it comes to these issues. And one of the previous speakers talked about all these negative, I guess, consequences or side effects of birth control. But other than just preventing pregnancy, particularly teenage pregnancy, there are many other benefits. Going off of the same website, Healthline, it says it regulates menstrual cycles, it makes periods less painful, reduces the risk of uterine cancer. I mean, we have to pass this bill because we can all agree that teenage pregnancy is wrong. So why should we be preventing access to make sure that doesn't happen? Because one of the other previous speakers talked about how it will eat into the rainy day fund. Well, I don't really think we should be worried about cost when it's talking about, taking someone's basically livelihood away because they might have made, a poor decision, but it's an irreversible decision. And, this is to make sure that doesn't happen and that we just have access and ability to access these things.
Thank you. Delegate Viavazo?
Thank you, Chair Pablo Villalbazo, Union Delegation. I believe the bigger issue is that it's currently criminalized for high schools to give out condoms. And I don't think that should be a thing, right? For me, frankly, I could care less if someone under 14 has access to condoms. But what I do have issues with is because I personally know that there's already a lot of distributors, specifically like nonprofits that can provide these contraceptive devices. But and I think we should just decriminalize it, but I don't believe we should fund it, and especially from the rainy day fund. So that's why I will be voting nay on this bill, even though I absolutely agree with the intentions of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Delegate Belay?
Thomas Belay, Notre Dame Prep Delegation. It seems like something that I'm hearing a lot is that by expanding these contraceptives among teens, we'll be preventing teen pregnancies. But aside from all of the biological and environmental side effects that I mentioned before of birth control, it also increases risky sexual behavior. And the only consequence of risky sexual behavior among teens is not only unwanted pregnancies, it's also STDs. And especially even if contraceptives work perfectly, we have a lot more bullying in schools. Just 2 years ago, we had one girl stab another girl because she got mad at the other girl for sleeping with her boyfriend. Like that kind of risky sexual behavior, even if we can make it completely consequence free, it's really, really going to hurt the minds of our students who are not ready for this yet. I mean, I think we all kind of agree that I don't want to make any assumptions here, but I think we all kind of agree that teenagers should choose not to have sex. And if we make it even easier for them to do so, we'll just see more and more of this bullying and unwanted pregnancies. Well, maybe not as much of those, but more bullying, especially amongst teenagers. And especially another reason that I think might be more well received by the senators here is the use of the Rainy Day Fund. This is a fund that is created in Michigan to help us protect against an economic recession. This is an utter misuse of the Rainy Day Fund. I mean, it was not created for medical reasons. It was created to help Michigan businesses in the case of an economic recession. That's not what this is doing. It's a complete it's a complete misuse of this fund. And for all these reasons, I think that we should absolutely vote in negation of this bill.
Thank you. Delegate Cade?
Sierra Aztec Delegation, I am once again asking for all personal beliefs to be not in this conversation. The previous speaker stated that they have concerns of bullying of this bill because of the one incident of one girl stabbing another because of the relations to a one boy, which I understand that, but I'm not going to let that one incident be the reason why teenagers out here don't have access to this one thing. They have teenagers can choose whether or not they want to engage, but what we're going to do is let them take away their choice. The choice is there for them to take a reason. Do you want them to just face the consequences of having a baby and eventually having to have an abortion, or the other way around? Or do you just want them to at least be safe from it? Like I said, this isn't an incentive to say, oh, go ahead, just go do it. If you're going to do it, at least here you go, right? Things to protect you from, like I said, we all said, STDs, the other benefits and resolutions. And for people saying that this might, the funding is just kind of inaccurate, I understand we might not want to take it from the Rainy Day Fund, but like I said, the bill is modeled from the Colorado bill that the bill author stated, and like I said, they avoided almost $70 million in costs when it came to this. And just like the previous speaker stated, that it's just kind of an incentive, like I said, an incentive to, or like they said, an incentive to just say, oh, go ahead, just go do it. The teen birth rate was cut nearly in half, as stated by the author of the bill. The teen abortion rate was cut nearly in half, as stated by the author of the bill. We have nothing to lose here.
Thank you so much. Because time has elapsed, I entertain a motion to table this bill, considering that there's more discussion.